Hello, people, and welcome back to PODSHOTS. This is episode 26, in which we interview Chris Elkins. He is a natural bodybuilder competing in natural bodybuilding competitions, and we talk about everything from supplements to routines to drama to Vikings. I swear, everything. But you know what? That's okay, because this is a pretty damn good episode, and you guys are going to like it. With that aside, our beverage of choice this week is Anvil Rye whiskey by Foundry Four. They're actually a local whiskey company, and they also do coffee. And shout out to them for allowing us to represent the brand on the podcast. You'll catch us drinking a little bit throughout the episode, so be sure to check them out. Anyways, kick back, relax, have a drink of Anvil Rye whiskey, and listen to episode 26 with Chris Elkins of PODSHOTS. Yeah, that is nice. A little bit easier. They locked down everything in Oregon, so we're kind of right back to square one in a lot of parts, which kind of sucks, but
yeah, it's pretty wild. It's almost like we're in the Wild West, because like some businesses are like, F this, I'm not closing no matter what. And then the police are just like, okay, I don't care. Like, do what you want.
Outside the cities and the big areas, a lot of the sheriff's departments have pretty much just said, fuck it. They're not going to, enforce it as much anymore. Like, they're getting really tired of the governor too, because she came out and said that anyone for Thanksgiving, if you had like more than 6 people in your household, you couldn't have Thanksgiving. And she was asking your neighbors to rat you out too. Like, it was getting like really weird and a little over the top. So it's like there's the rules for the lockdown, but it's like not everyone's following it either. Depends on where you are, though.
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame them. If you're a small business, what are you going to do? Just go out of business? Like, I'd rather stay open and accept any. I'm not saying I'm going to accept the fine, but take the fine. Try to fight it, because there's nothing that's, in my opinion, it's not right to just close everything. They have to figure out a way, to manage this pandemic without absolutely destroying small businesses and the economy.
I don't think that they really want to figure it out, though. Like, look, I know this is pretty controversial stuff, but I'm not really, I say controversial stuff quite often, but but I honestly, the Pfizer, which is a drug company, today, the news in the UK was the UK is the first country to approve nationwide vaccine use from Pfizer. And, I've been so frustrated talking with my brother, talking with my friends, talking with the people that I respect about, exactly what you've just mentioned, which is that we should find a way to lock down in a way that doesn't include everybody, the healthy, the fit, and to keep the economy going. It seems like it's not rocket science, right? It's not that difficult to conceptualize that. But yet we're still here. We're still trying to figure out, like, when we're going to open everything up again. And it just dawned on me. Like, I've had this thought before, but it really dawned on me today. I was like, some motherfuckers are getting some serious cash in government from this vaccine.
For sure. Absolutely. I just think there's 3 groups of people. There's the elderly, which are much higher risk. There's the immune compromised. And then the third group is their direct caregivers. If those 3 people are, quarantined, sequestered, isolated, whatever, they don't go out, or they wear masks 100% of the time, and they're just like, because the problem right now is everybody follows the same rules, and someone that's young and healthy, I'm not that young anymore, but someone that's younger and healthy and doesn't take it as seriously because they know that the morbidity rate is so much lower, they're just not going to have the same precautions, and they shouldn't have to have the same precautions as somebody who has a 5% chance of dying if they get it, someone who's 80 years old or whatever. But unfortunately, it's not sold like that by the media. They're not, they really have to, in my opinion, who am I, right? But in my opinion, they really should let the elderly, the immune compromised know that, like, hey, like, you guys are the most at risk. You're the ones that are going to end up in the ICU. You're the ones that are going to potentially die from this. You guys should stay home. You shouldn't go anywhere. You shouldn't go out to eat. You shouldn't go grocery shopping, have someone bring you stuff. But instead, it's just like, hey, everybody wear a mask and you'll be okay. Everybody's social distance. but I mean, anybody could get it at any time. Like you could touch something and touch your eye and get it. I just competed in Vegas. It was November 7th. And I think that's where I got exposed. I had COVID, and
Oh,
it
you
was
could for
just,
sure
I
you
was
had
like,
it.
oh, yeah, I got tested. I had a slight fever, slight headache for one day. I didn't want to get tested, but a friend was flying in to see me and said, oh, I'm not coming if you don't get tested, because you know, if you had a fever, I'm a little concerned. And I'm like, come on, I feel fine now. I woke up the next day feeling fine, but it was insisted on, so I went and I got tested, and it came back positive, and kind of changed my changed everything, because obviously I had to quarantine and couldn't go to the gym. And so I took 10 days out of the gym from the time first having symptoms, and did some home workouts and some bands and stuff. I actually didn't tell anybody that I had it until I was basically recovered, because I didn't want to jinx myself. I didn't want to like, I don't know, man. I didn't want to be the person that's been talking crap about COVID for the last 9 months. And then once I get it, I end up dying or something. So I didn't say anything. I just chilled. I isolated. I was going kind of crazy on my story. Some people said, "Oh, you sound congested. What do you got, COVID?" And I didn't respond to them. You know, there was a lot of comments. And then finally I announced it once I was already back in the gym, once I was already past that 10 days of the first symptoms. And yeah, so my symptoms were very mild. I've had colds that are way worse than that, honestly.
Interesting.
But I mean, that's fortunate. But I had to cancel. I was supposed to do a show. I had to cancel one of the shows I was going to do. And very fortunately for me, it didn't set me back in my contest prep at all. I really haven't talked about this in depth. I didn't even really make a post about it. It was just on my story, and I got a bunch of comments about it. But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting experience. I'm glad that I went through it, simply for the fact that, you know, now I know I have some. Again, people are gonna go nuts. You don't have immunity, you can get it again. Like I had so many messages, and shared some of them on my story. But I mean, the whole way a vaccine works is because there's antibodies and there's immunity. So I know that I have some immunity now, and I feel a little bit better about the next couple shows that I'm about to do. Not having to worry about getting COVID. I even made a joke like, "Oh, I should have a little Star of David thing where I can not have to wear a mask because now I've had it already." You know, like a little exemption badge. But people didn't like that joke at all.
This is a good one. That was a good one, man. Very, very, very like prudent joke for the day today. You know, we're living in a. I was going to ask you about this. What you think about the current political tensions in the United States, and you know, seems to be a lot more.
Yeah, they're crazy, man.
Yeah.
So it's funny. I watched a show yesterday. I finished it yesterday. There's only 8 episodes on Amazon Prime called Utopia, and it's funny because you look like a young John Cusack.
I look like a utopian.
So this show stars John Cusack, and he's basically like kind of like Bill Gates. And it's just so crazy, the timing of the show. Apparently, it's a remake of a British show that came out in 2013 or 14. I didn't know that. Someone told me that today, but I really enjoyed it, the American version of it that I finished yesterday. But it's about a guy that hires this guy to make viruses and diseases in order to bring the world population down. And I don't want to like spoil the whole show, but basically they want to create a vaccine so they can give it to everybody, which is actually worse than the actual flu virus that they have. It's crazy show. Like the timing is just nuts. Like, how did this show come out this year with everything that's happened this year? It's like, and it was filmed obviously before this. It's just crazy.
Whoa. Yeah, there's a couple of.
Utopia. I enjoyed it.
All right. Is he breaking up for you as well, Brandon?
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Once in a while.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's just seems to be some connection problems, but yeah, that is nuts. How the timing of that, man. It's also, I think at the beginning there was like, what was it, Contagion and another movie that were very eerily like similar to what was happening. So people were starting to get really panicky about it. None of this helps, man. You know, like none of it helps. It's entertaining.
No, definitely not.
You shouldn't be making movies and TV shows.
What do you think it is? Do you think is it because art imitates life, or is it life imitates art? What?
Dude, I don't know what it is. It's uncanny how it's like it's just at the same time. So, but I don't know. I mean, maybe we're just more aware of that now because it's happening? You know, how that kind of whole, you know, your awareness shifts with whatever you focus on, you start to notice more of the same thing. Maybe that's why. I think these things have always been out there. But but yeah, I mean, I don't want to make the whole conversation about COVID, but it's obviously one of those things that's just following us around. And no matter what we do, every episode, we have to talk about it with our guests to some degree, you know, just to get like some new feedback, some new observations and insights on it. But that's really, it's interesting to know that you actually got it, and you're one of the people who I think isn't really reported about. You know, like all we really hear is infection rates, and I feel it's not helping anything really. So the fact that you and many other people have had it and not really had any serious side effects, many more people than the ones that are being reported is actually getting really sick, just says a
I'll tell you
lot about
the worst side effect for me was I lost my sense of smell and taste, and on Thanksgiving couldn't taste anything. It was a tragedy.
Oh, terrible time to get
It
it.
was
Terrible time.
so bad. They say that can go on for a couple months too. I feel like it's coming back. I mean, I can taste this monster. I can slightly smell it, but I'm still a little congested. I don't know if it's allergies or lingering COVID congestion, but the good news is nothing serious.
Yeah, it's probably the congestion 'cause it is a virus, but yeah, the concern is just going into winter, you know, in certain parts of the US especially, it's just we're in flu season right now. So unless we get a vaccine, which I don't think a vaccine is going to do much in the long run because it's a virus, you're going to have to have a new vaccine every year. I think a lot of people are going to get it.
Yeah, me too. Which I think the numbers are going to go through the roof, but hopefully it's similar to the flu and not that many people will need even treatment. You know, it'll just be, oh, I got it, and then on with your life, you know, after 10 days or so.
Dude, I have just thought now that I've literally been bugging you for ages to do something, to work together, to do something together. Ever since I saw you online, I was like, whoa, this guy's really cool. You know, you post a lot. I would say you're like an internet celebrity for you know, lack of a better phrase. I would say that you're one of like the new age celebrities that are kind of coming out today on social media platforms. You've got a ton of followers. You're featured in many different profiles and distribution. And yeah, I'm so, it's fascinating to see your growth. Like I don't know what your journey's been like, and I'm guessing we're going to learn about that on this episode. But do you ever think of yourself like that? Do you ever see yourself as like, oh wow, I'm starting to make some serious, you know, headway with this social media stuff?
Well, I mean, I guess when I quit my day job in 2017, because my Instagram started growing so quickly, I was able to get a lot more coaching clients. So I was making significantly more money coaching than I was at my corporate sales job. But I loved my job and I loved the people that I worked with, but I couldn't justify doing both anymore. I just didn't have the time when it came to like creating content and coaching clients and then still doing a normal 9 to 5, you know? So I made that decision, and I had a wife and 2 kids. And so it wasn't like an easy decision to make, you know, to venture off and work for yourself. Like in my head, I kept thinking like, well, what if everything just stops, or what if Instagram closes for some reason or whatever, you know? But fortunately, things are still going pretty well. And I never really thought of myself as being like very important or like a celebrity, like you said. You know, I just thought, okay, I'm getting kind of popular on Instagram fitness for the most part. You know, I'm getting kind of popular. That's the only really way that I looked at myself. And you know, I'll go to the mall and people be like, "Hey, man, aren't you Chris Elkins?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, man, nice to meet you. Thanks for following me," or whatever, you know. And I always have like pretty genuine interactions with these people, and they'll tell me somehow that I've maybe affected them or why they follow me or whatever, and it's pretty dope. And that feels really good. I went to a different gym right after I had COVID, and I was a little depressed on it. I've been depressed honestly for a few months now. And so I was at this gym and I was working out by myself, and this guy comes up to me and he says, "Hey man, I hate to bother you," because I had my headphones on, I was in the zone, and it doesn't bother me at all. Like, it feels great, to get some type of recognition that, like, so that this work that you're putting in is actually positively affecting people really feels good. Like, getting messages online is cool, but like having someone in real life in person say it to you kind of means a lot. And he was just like, you're awesome, man. Like, I saw you come back from your stomach surgery last year to the shape that you're in now. It's just incredible. And it really inspires me. And to stay natural. And I'm like, damn, that feels really good. Cause a lot of the guys that do exactly what I do are on steroids. So it just feels really good to know that I'm like inspiring people to stay drug free and not go down that avenue, because there's so many side effects. But it's whatever, to each their own, right? And then in that same workout, I'm listening to sad music like I do a lot, and this girl comes up to me and she's like, hey, you don't know me, but my name's Tanya and I've been following you for like a year, and I used to follow your ex-girlfriend, and then I started following you, and I really love your content. And I was like, damn, this shit feels great. Like, thank you so much. Like, I really appreciate that. Like, hell yeah, that's awesome. And then I go about my day, but it just, yeah, that feels really numb. But I don't think of myself as a celebrity. I just think I've, gotten a little bit more popular than other people on Instagram fitness for the most part.
Did you say that you listen to sad music at the gym, or was that?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I got a problem. I can't not listen to sad music for the last year or so. I don't know why.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I think that's one of the ways you can like get it out of your system. I mean, I've been there before, and I go up and down like a yo-yo with my emotions. Seriously, I mean, especially this year. Fuck, it's been crazy.
Yeah,
Um,
same.
and it seems like no matter what you do, you never see the next one coming. It's like you're doing fine, you're doing well, and then boom, it hits you, and you're like, whoa, I thought I was over this. So I think it's just one of those things that, I mean, at least for me, I know it's always going to be there around the corner. Like I was depressed a lot the last few years. Life just wasn't going the way I wanted it to. I was in a toxic relationship. I mean, I don't know if you can relate to this. You probably can, but like, I know you've had a couple of relationships in the last few years. So I mean, for me, I'm a relationships kind of guy, and I do a relationships podcast on, separate to this. And
Oh, nice.
yeah, it's just a super important thing for humans to have that connection. So for me to not have that connection at this point in my life, I'm recognizing a lot more about myself that I had kept to the side or under the carpet for so long. Being in relationships, I was able to avoid it, and now I just have to confront it. It doesn't feel great sometimes, but what was it? I think it was a popular comedian who said that, there's mornings when you wake up and you feel terrified. You just feel this terror overcome you, and you don't want to face the day. But as soon as you get up and you start moving, you begin to change your mood, your emotions begin to shift. And it's like, it's just, you just got to keep moving. And I feel like that analogy is the same for depressive phases. If you can keep moving and you don't stop, you'll get through it. You'll go through to the other side. And I don't know if that makes any sense to you guys, but for me,
It was like an episode of Unleashed Love. I kind of like it.
it is, man. It's like my relationship podcast just took over.
I know you've been working a lot on that.
Staying positive is very important. I don't know, man. It's hard because I have this is the first time in my life that I've not been in a relationship, like literally my entire life, like adult life at least. I got married when I was 18, and I was married for 15 years. Left that relationship immediately, got into another one. We moved in together, and we were together. We got engaged together for a year and a half, and then that ended not too long ago. And to a house that I bought in 2015 with my ex-wife, and she lives in another house that we bought in 2018. And so I kicked out my tenants and moved back into this house, and I'm like, God, I didn't expect to live here ever again, and I also didn't expect to live here by myself for the first time. And it's just been a journey, and this whole year has been rough. So just I don't want to sound too sad, but I'll just give you a quick breakdown of like the last 2 years of my life. 2019, get divorced. I had a company called Max Hype Training. I still have it. my business partner decided to not want to do business with me because I got divorced. And to me, that was very painful because we were best friends. And I was like, bro, like I never imagined that my personal life would affect our business like this. And then he sued me because he wanted to keep the programs himself. And I was like, just very surprised about everything. And anyway, we had to both get lawyers, and or I had to get, he already had one, I had to get a lawyer, and we ended up settling everything. And we're not on bad terms, but it costs a lot, like a waste of money for sure, you know, and it kind of destroyed the brand in a way. So moving on from that, I had an amazing 2019 for the most part. I competed, won my pro card in natural physique because I was a natural bodybuilder. Won my pro card in 2015 in natural bodybuilding. Decided to try something different, and I did men's physique, which was like the board shorts instead of the little, you know, bikini thing, and speedo, I guess they would call it. They're called posing trunks, but whatever. Anyway, so
That's right.
yeah,
Hammock,
marathon.
yeah.
So I won my pro card in physique, the board shorts, and I was about to compete in the world championship, which I was super excited about. Everything was kind of like short notice too. I get back home from the show. I did a show in Boston. I took second in a pro show, my first physique pro show. 3 days later, I have terrible stomach pain, and I end up going to the hospital. And my intestines had flipped around and got tangled up for no reason. So they ended up having to do emergency surgery. They cut me open. I had this huge scar. Obviously, couldn't compete for a while, you know, like I was a week out from the world championship in New York for natural physique. And then I'm sitting at home on the couch recovering. I was in the hospital for 6 days, couldn't eat for 5 days. They had to take out about 6 inches of my large intestine, my appendix, and some cecum or valve or something like that. Anyway, all that, they took it out. And I asked them, I said, you know, like, why did this happen? Like, why at this time in my life, you know? And they were like, well, it's genetic. You were missing the mesentery tissue that holds the intestine to the abdominal wall. Could have happened any time. And I was in the Marines, so I was at the VA hospital, and they did a great job. I was very happy with they kept the incision below the belly button, but it was like a pretty like long, like, I don't know, 6-inch scar that ran from my belly button down. And I was like, in my head, I'm thinking like, man, is this going to affect my competition in the future? Is this going to like destroy my physique? And of course I couldn't for months, which isn't that long. It's not that bad, but it was through the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. I could barely walk. Walk up the stairs was super difficult for the month. Like rolling out of bed, you never realize how much you use your abs until you can't use your abs anymore. You know, like your core, like trying to get out of bed and stuff. It was brutal. So I was a little sad about that. And then I made a pretty incredible recovery. Like I'm at literally the best I've ever been right this moment. And it's only been 11 months since I got back in the gym. Been 1 year since the surgery. So that's been pretty great. And then, you know, so I should be happy, right? But then COVID hit, business took a big hit because all the gyms closed. So less people are signing up for coaching just for the fact that they don't have anywhere to train, you know? So that affected things pretty badly. So I had to kind of think outside the box. I did home workouts, I did challenges, lower ticket coaching, just a bunch of different things to try to keep revenue coming in. And luckily my gym stayed open so I could still train and I was still making progress. I still had big plans to compete. And then all the shows I was going to do got canceled. So then now I have to look at all different shows, different organizations, which is what ended up leading me to compete in the NPC, which I normally wouldn't have done because they're not drug tested. So now I'm natural competing against guys on steroids. But again, that's just like, I feel like every little setback that I had a little bit of a silver lining. Like I ended up getting engaged and then things didn't work out. And within 6 months of getting engaged, we ended up breaking up. And that was pretty devastating, but I don't know if there's any silver lining to that. Maybe there is somewhere. I'm just not.
I was waiting. I was like, what is this silver lining?
Yeah,
waiting.
That one out, yeah. But maybe there's something better in the future.
No, well, I read a quote today. It was like the one that got away, and it's actually a Neil Strauss quote. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. But he was basically saying, and rightly so, they should have got away because most of the time, that's the kind of person that didn't need to be in your life, and the one who is meant to be in your life is the one that sticks around, the one that works, whether or not that's down to that person or down to you or down to the union that you have. It's like the silver lining is perhaps that you avoided prolonging what shouldn't have even happened in the first place, or like a potential challenge in the future. So honestly, man, I'm a big believer that everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, I hate that saying. Like, I just hate it. I just feel like it's such a cop out. Like, who? Like, I don't know. I believe in God. I should go to church more often than I do, but I just don't know. I mean, I feel like we have free will. I feel like a lot of things happen randomly. I just don't know if everything happens for a reason. But I think it's a nice thing to think,
I
because
see
then you
what
can
you
always think
mean.
like,
Yeah.
but
No, that's not what I mean. Right. Okay. I get what you're saying. No, I don't believe in destiny. I don't believe in destiny at all. I believe that no matter what happens to you is right for you, because it's
mhm,
teaching you something. Like,
right.
you're learning
Yeah.
something from it. So in that
Yeah,
respect,
there really were a bunch of positive things out of all the negative things that happened this year. There were a lot, like even moving back into this house, like interest rates are super low. So I'm refinancing right now for like 2.25, which is amazing. I think I was at like 3.75. So the payment's going to be down. It'll be a better, if I move out again in the future, which I probably will, and rent this house out again, it'll be a better rental, it'll be better cash flow. I just think there definitely is. I focus so much on my prep for these shows because I didn't have anything else going on. I was by myself. So yeah, that's a positive. And because all those shows got canceled, it forced me to do these NPC shows, and now I have a chance to win a IFBB Pro card in a little over a week. So that's something I never would have done because I just didn't have any interest to compete against guys on steroids. But if I can do well in these shows and win an IFBB Pro card, that'd be something that's super rare for someone that's a natural bodybuilder to win an IFBB Pro card. So that would be it'll just be incredible. It'll just be like a super great to this year.
yeah.
When you say natural bodybuilder, like what does that mean exactly? So like, can you use like any supplements? Do you have to train a certain way? Like what's the differential there?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's fairly vague because different organizations have different banned substance lists, but basically it means that you're not taking any steroids, hormones, illegal fat burners. There's a whole list. So there's the WADA list, the World Anti-Doping Agency list, and then there's like the WMBF has their list, which is more specific towards giving you an advantage in bodybuilding specifically. So the main thing is no pro hormones, no SARMs, no illegal fat burners.
Your physique
But
is
like protein, creatine, that's all fine.
right.
Okay.
Your physique is just like crazy, just crazy results you've got. Like, you're very big, but you're also incredibly defined. And I can understand why some people would say, "Oh, Chris is using steroids," because like, I think the thoughts probably crossed my mind too. And the fact that you say you're natural and that you're not using any of these things is like unbelievable to some people. Like, because and I don't know why that is. Like, if I think about the potential of the human body, I know that there's some people that I just don't know ever if they're actually using enhancements or not. And it's so therefore it's hard because the line's really blurry. You just don't know where it starts and ends.
Right.
So
I agree with you.
why do you think we didn't see, because your physique, like, I know I sound like a real fanboy here, but your physique's really like quite impressive compared to, let's say, for example, pre, like Olympia competition bodybuilding, which was probably mostly steroid free. I think 1930s was when the steroids came out. But why do you think we never saw people who looked as built and cut as you are?
I think it's two things. So I think there were plenty of people that had way more lean body mass than than only 145 pounds. So, but I agree that I've built a good amount of muscle for my frame, where if I'm in the gym and I have a pump, and we'll hope somebody thinks I'm on steroids speaking to this, the worst thing ever would be to be on steroids and have no one think you're on steroids. That'd be the worst thing ever, right? But I think the biggest issue is that these guys didn't get lean back then. They just didn't, unless they were just a naturally lean body type, like someone that, but those type of guys usually didn't have as much muscle mass because the chin we've come so far. Like with counting macros, I can literally eat anything as long as I hit my numbers each day. Enough protein and a small enough calorie deficit. If the calorie deficit's too big, you lose too much muscle. If the calorie deficit's too small, you don't lose enough fat. So you really need to fine tune where you're at and then not do too much cardio. But if you need some cardio to increase your activity level, like what you see me right now at the desk is what I do all day for work, because I sit here and I work on emails for clients for coaching, so my daily activity level is pretty low. So I do several days of cardio a week, 4 or 5 days at least. And I ride my bike. But the biggest difference in my opinion is, aside from efficiency of training, is just nobody got as lean while maintaining as much muscle mass naturally in the past as they do now. And it's just because it's become a science. Those guys, like, way more muscle mass than I ever had, but they just would probably stay 15 to 20% body fat. We got like, is that guy Steve Reeves, is he natural, or is that what's the guy that had the greatest natural physique from like the 30s before the testosterone and everything came around? Do you know? I don't recall these guys' names, but they just never got as lean as people get now. And people get way leaner than me. I mean, there's a guy that's around the same size as me, his name's Brett Freeman. He's crazy for his conditioning. It's just so impressive. Like, these guys get crazy lines in their glutes that I just can't get, because the way I store my body fat, it's all in my lower body. So it's just what people are capable nowadays. It just blows my mind.
Yeah. I think
I think part of it's too,
yeah.
like the 4-minute mile, it's like once someone does it and people figure out that it's possible, then you got a whole nother, bunch of people doing it.
Yeah. Which is interesting, because I wonder where
the best is yet to come, in my opinion.
Like I agree with you. I feel like, but do you feel like we're getting to the point now where, naturally speaking, there's not that much room left to kind of to reach?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like that analogy where, if you, like, let's say the door is 10 feet away and you get halfway there, and then you get halfway there, and then you get halfway there, and then eventually the difference is like so minute. That's why we see like the guys in the combine running 40s, and someone's like 4.23, and then the next person is like 4.22. It's like, yeah, this guy's faster, but does it matter on the field? Probably not. You know what I mean? Like, it's, at this point, it's everyone's getting so fast, everyone's getting so good. Then you have freaks like I don't know if you watch American football, but you have freaks like Patrick Mahomes that can just do such incredible things, or Tyreek Hill, for example, the wide receiver. These guys are just so fast and quick. And I think there's a lot of people that train for other sports that would just kill it in bodybuilding if that was their goal, but it's not. Like me going to the gym and doing bench press and deadlifts, that's my training. For them, that's like, that's just something for them to get stronger. Their training is like in basketball or in football, or, a sport that's actually going to pay you a lot of money, versus natural bodybuilding, which doesn't pay you any money at all,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, technology is a huge part of that. I remember reading something. They were doing like a whole segment like on ESPN. They're talking about, they're using the 4x1 relay as an example, or not the 4x1. They're using the 100-meter dash in the Olympics as an example, because Usain Bolt has fastest time in the world. And they're like, okay, well, if we took the same technology,
seconds, right?
It's like, yeah, but it cuts it down to like a really small margin. Like if you took the same technology, the same blocks, the same shoes, the same material that you're running on the track surface, you gave all that Usain Bolt has to the fastest guy in the world 30 years ago, they can measure that, and he'd be like literally right behind Usain Bolt. So a lot of that, I think, is, the technology and the things we develop that kind of go into it as well, on top of the genetics too. That's obviously a huge part of it. You have to be able to run that fast, but
yeah. Can you imagine back in the day, they're using a little stopwatch that would actually press the button? Like, what is the margin of error for that?
I bet a lot of people who like stopwatch guys got like, taken out, after the run. Just gone disappear one
day. I can.
They didn't all have Nikes. They didn't have good blocks to run out of. I mean, the surface wasn't as great. So, I mean, there's some benefits to living today versus 30 years ago.
Oh, I mean, yeah, no, look at basketball players played in Chuck Taylors with no support. And You know what I mean? It's just night and day compared to what they have now.
Genetically,
Exactly.
though, like, on the topic of genetics, do you think we've come, because we are going through a process of kind of like weeding out, the weakest partners, picking the ones that are more genetically superior. Do you think that we've come a long way in terms of genetics? Because a lot of this is to do with that. I mean, you have good genetics, right? I mean, you must have, because you're natural. And someone who is looking at your stuff
I don't
on
know. I'm like
Instagram.
5'5.5".
Yeah, no. But to be able to put on like a shape like that and have the muscle structure like yours, someone who's looking at your content on Instagram, for example, and kind of thinking, I just need to train hard and I'll get to look like that. It might not necessarily be the case, is what I'm saying.
Right. I agree with you that most people won't look like me, but I think a lot of people would be surprised at how much they could look like me, or even better potentially. They just don't know it because they've never like I'll coach a lot of people, and some of them will be very surprised at how they look at the end of, say, 6 months of very consistent training, and others unfortunately won't see as big of a difference. And some of it has to do with adherence and consistency, and other things I think have to, like the whole nature versus nurture thing, right? I think they grew up and they never lifted weights, they never did sports, and they just haven't developed. It might take them 5 years what someone else could do in a year. Like I've actually only been lifting weights consistently since I was like 27, and I'm 36 now. So not even at 10 years yet, but I did do a little bit of weightlifting in high school. I was in the Marines, so I was always into fitness, but I never actually played any sports growing up. I felt like I was like a late bloomer on that stuff. So I think it just depends. Like some people would be very surprised at their transformation. And unfortunately, genetics do come into play a lot. And other people, I see people that work really, really hard because I work with them, and they don't see very much difference at all. And it's unfortunate. But as far as you're saying, I actually think genetics are way more diverse nowadays, because we don't weed out the weak or feeble, or whatever it might be. I feel like we're very, like, our society, like if you're a chimpanzee or something and you have a small defect, they're going to kill you. Here we embrace everyone's differences, which is great because we're humans and we have humanity and compassion and empathy, and that person will find love, and they'll probably recreate. And whereas if we were in the animal kingdom, they wouldn't. So I don't know. I think it just depends. I think it's very diverse. There's a lot of humans in the world. I think eventually someone will be faster than Michael Phelps, and someone will be faster than Usain Bolt, and someone will be a better boxer than Floyd Mayweather or whatever,
Yeah, eventually that will happen. How weird that would be, though, walking around and everyone was 5'5", completely jacked and super compassionate.
Yeah. I was talking to Yusuf earlier today. Yusuf is our mutual friend, and he's been on PODSHOTS before. And I was saying to him, I learned this. The Vikings in the movies and TV shows are always portrayed as these huge warriors, just like massive blonde dudes. But they were really short in real life. They actually figured out that they're actually very short people. So you would be surprised. Huh?
Wow. I didn't know that they were short. I did a DNA thing. I'm 42% Scandinavian, and I always make a joke like, where's my height?
There you go. That might be it. Yeah.
So I'm a fucking Viking. Let's go.
Who are your role models because you said you got into this whole thing late, but I'm assuming that you got where did you get your motivation from? I mean, I know you were in the Marines, and I kind of thought, hey, that would be interesting to talk about that. Yeah, like, okay, so what influenced you to join the Marines in the first place?
Yeah, so I was taking a year off after high school before I decided what I was going to do with my life, and I really enjoyed working at Best Buy. And then a Marine recruiter walks in, and I thought he wanted to buy a computer, but he really just wanted to try to get some recruits, And I just saw his uniform looked so slick. It was a Navy town. I lived right next to Norfolk, and both Virginia Beach and Norfolk are like the two biggest naval bases in the whole country. And so I had no interest in the military at all. But I don't know, man, something about the Marines, it just looked so cool. And they brought me in, I watched the little video, and I was like, you know, you hear the dun 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 dun. I'm like, damn, that shit like sounds great. And then the uniforms, and they were like, don't you want to travel the world? Don't you want to be the best? And I was like, I do want to be the best. That's what that's what I want to do. I want to be the best. And I was dating my girlfriend at the time, became my wife. We ended up getting married right after boot camp. And but so I was like, you know, I'll just be a reservist. That was my thing. Like, oh, okay, it'll be part-time. And then I was like, wait, then I still got to work at Best Buy. I still got to go to college. Still got to do all these other things. I was like, no, I'm just gonna go active duty. And like in one night, I made that decision, and then bam, the rest of my life was different. You know, I did a 5-year contract. Ended up doing my school at an Air Force base because it was a technical school, and then got stationed on the West Coast in Camp Pendleton.
Cool.
And I've been in California ever since.
Yeah.
I did 7 months in Iraq in 2006, and had a great experience. Just the whole experience was, it's not something I wanted to ever, I didn't re-enlist or anything. I didn't want to continue with it, but I really look back on that whole time as, you know, as such a huge learning experience. I mean, I feel like I went from living with my grandma to getting married and having my own home, like my, you know, running and having my first apartment, everything, and being on my own. Well, I mean, you know, I got married because I didn't want to be alone. So I think that's why I got married so young. And then in like 3 or 4 months after we got married, I got pregnant, had our first kid just a year later, you know. And yeah, it's just crazy. Everything, like I was like 19 now, had a kid, and been married a year, and the rest just was history. I did 5 years, and then I just got out and started doing the same job that I did while I was in. I did as a civilian, and then I was really just looking for a competitive outlet, you know, something to do to challenge me. And I was doing like indoor rock climbing. I did some of those like a warrior dash or Spartan, not Spartan. I did like beast something, or like mud factor runs, and they were fun. But I wasn't huge into running. I did a half marathon. I did triathlon, and then I was on YouTube in 2012, and I saw Matt Ogus. He actually lives a few houses down from me now, but he had created this whole YouTube series about natural bodybuilding. And I was like, oh, I thought you had to be on steroids to do bodybuilding. I thought you had to be like 6 foot, 240 pounds, like Arnold Schwarzenegger or something, you know. I didn't realize it was a thing. And then I hired some coaches, the same ones that he used to get him ready to compete. And I competed way too early. Like I'd only been lifting like consistently for like a year, and ended up doing pretty well. Did 4 shows that year, and had like 3 first places and a second place, and I was hooked.
Yeah, I used to follow Matt Ogus. He had a Snapchat too, so he would like pretty much vlog everything. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, and that's I followed his YouTube, and I became friends with him, and got into the like. I wasn't really, I had no expectations. I was already the type of person that kind of liked to take progress pics, and you know, I was on like, you know, MySpace and then Facebook, and then I remember starting my Instagram, and literally no expectations at all. I just was sharing everything that I was doing, like probably like a weirdo. And I mean, it's really normal now, but I feel like in 2012 it was kind of weird. And I didn't really care what anybody said or thought about it. I was just doing me, you know, and sharing my journey. And then I started doing the YouTube also to vlog the entire experience, because I wanted to be able to look back and see it, and like kind of like, this is motivation. You got into the best shape of your life. And I don't know, I just caught on, and here I am.
Did you meet, so you met Matt at one of the events, and did you meet Chris, your ex-business partner, through Matt? Because I noticed you guys all know each other.
Yeah, no. So he actually met Matt through me. So I went, and we knew each other through mutual friends on Facebook, and we started talking. I asked him to help me with an off-season training program. I was already a pro at this point. It was in 2016, and I had done my first pro show, and I wanted to make a ton of improvements, specifically to my lower body. Like, wanted to grow my legs, and so we actually created the Max Hype Extreme training program. It's like 6 out of 8 days a week, and it has awesome weekly undulating periodization and different rep ranges, and it's a dope program. It's the best program I've ever ran, and I ran it for a year and a half. And after a few months, I was like, we have to sell this, and that's when we created Max Hype together.
Yeah, That whole thing, the program, I bought it and it was great. It looks amazing.
Oh, nice.
Admittedly, I have not. You can tell I haven't used it. I mean, come on. But right. And so, but I plan to get around to it one day. But it definitely looks like you put like your heart and soul into that. What, do you mind me asking you, like, what happened when you started to have that kind of friction with him? And yeah, it does seem to me a little strange that my business partner, if it was me, would be getting upset because of my divorce.
Yeah, well, his wife was friends with my ex-wife, and I don't know. He just didn't like the decision that I made. I having two kids and deciding to end the marriage. And to make a long story short, he didn't really want to work together anymore. And yeah, I don't know. It's shitty, man. I still we were literally best friends for a couple years. Like I let him coach me to my because I took a whole year and a half to focus on gaining muscle. So then in 2018, I did several pro shows and even the world championship. And he coached me through that, specifically towards the end of the prep. And we talked to each other every single day, and we did everything together. Like, even though he lived in Florida, we would go to expos together. We had a booth together for Max Hype. Yeah, so I don't know, it's painful. Like, it was like, okay, the divorce hurts. Even though it was something kind of that I chose, it still wasn't easy to go through. And then to also lose my best friend. And then I had a regular training partner that I trained with every single morning, and his wife was also good friends with my ex-wife. And now we don't hang out either. So that, yeah, life, man, had
Dude,
some hits, but you just
I
keep
hear you.
moving.
I hear
There's a lot
you.
of dynamics at play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that you just have to deal with human beings, and it doesn't mean that you're wrong. It just means that people have very strong opinions about stuff, and you can't manufacture your social bubble exactly the way you want it to be. And I mean, it's always evolving. I lost a lot of friends when I broke up with some of my partners in the past, and there were mistakes that I made, and I take responsibility for that. But everyone's journey is different, and the people who don't want to stay with you through those hard times are perhaps not the best people to be in your life at that time anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. It's just a shame, like,
Yeah.
loss in general sucks, but I mean, I guess it's part of life.
Mhm.
You,
It's tough. It's sometimes it's easier when you can separate your friendships and your personal relationships away from business as much as possible, because that's almost always when things get like really weird and rough with people. Like, at least I try to do that because I've had so many experiences with that. I know so many people that have had tons of experiences with that. It's like, once you
we're
do any kind
friends,
of business, well,
right?
Clement, you're different. You're special. But, like, I'm talking about most people. Like, most people, when you get them involved with your work and you're not doing something that, that's fun, like a podcast is not like super stressful, right?
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
that can be really
We're not making
strenuous.
millions yet, but we will. We
We're
will.
not making millions today, but, Clement, we're gonna have a talk when we do.
We're gonna have a chat about that. Yeah. No. Well, the fitness industry is full of drama, though. Like, and I follow a bunch of different types of personalities. Jeremy Buendia never seems to have no drama in his life. It's very fascinating to watch him. Uh,
I mean, right now, I feel like right now he's doing pretty good as far as keeping drama to the minimum at the moment.
yeah, maybe. I don't know. I haven't seen his updates for a while, but yeah, he had some crazy thing going on. Lots of just it was crazy. I think he broke up with someone because there was some claims made against him. I don't really want to get into it, I guess, but yeah, like that was interesting. So it's good that you weren't kind of sucked into that whole aspect of it, and you were able to, like, at least stay friends, which is quite mature, I suppose.
Yeah. Oh, me and Chris Bearcat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know. I just can't hold grudges. I don't know. It feels worse to me to be mad at somebody over something, even though I feel like the whole thing wasn't fair for the way things happen. But I don't know. Yeah, I can't hold any grudges. I mean, in fact, me and my ex-wife are still really good. We're friends and co-parent and everything. Great. So she started a relationship shortly after um, we got divorced, and they're still together, and that kind of makes me happy.
Mm, yeah. Uh, what you said you're religious, right? And I'm I'm not religious myself, although I'm going through a phase now where I'm learning about religion to a certain degree, Christianity to a certain degree. I mean, my family are very religious Christian family, but I kind of always kind of I was kind of thought it was a need. It was not needed, rather, in this day and age, and we could somehow transcend, a lot of the kind of mythology of religion, right?
Right.
And I still do believe that, but now, given the way that like I look around me and I kind of feel like we're losing a lot of our values and principles, and it's kind of affecting us, like, profoundly. I'm starting to think
Yeah.
a lot of what Christianity teaches is actually fucking amazing. It's great, and it's what's
Mhm.
built a civilization that can actually function properly. Are you like through and through religious? How do you handle
Well, I
that?
would say so. Like when I was 9, my mom got into drugs, and I went to go live with my grandparents on my dad's side. My sister went to live with my grandparents on my mom's side, and so I was raised by my grandmother and grandfather, and they're older. And we went to church every Sunday. So, I grew up going to a non-denominational, like, Protestant church, and I enjoyed it, but I never got like super into it. Like she would send me to like Bible school for in the summer or whatever for like a week or whatever. And yeah, I don't know. I've read the Bible, and but I admit, like, I feel like, so when I was in Iraq, I went to church every Sunday. When I was in boot camp, I went to church every Sunday. Whenever there was a good opportunity, but I just, my whole life I haven't been like very consistent, like I would like to. And so, with me with my coaching, everything's very scientific. So, and I went to like a math and science magnet school for high school, and so I feel like obviously there's a lot of things where, as like, I don't know if I would like, I'm not like I don't know. I went to school in the Marines to be for metrology, which is the weights of science and measures. So kind of like a scientist, I guess. But uh, I don't know. On one hand, I think exactly how you think. Like, okay, we have all this science and evolution and the Big Bang theory and everything about the universe that we do know, and then we have things like religion, the Bible, and all different cultures have different religions as well. And then, but there's a lot of common themes, and I don't know. I guess the more, like, I have faith, so I do believe in God, and I believe in Jesus, and I believe that the things that you learn in the Bible are so important, like values and morals. And even though we're all so flawed, and we all make mistakes and do things that we shouldn't do from time to time, I feel like it's it's such a good reminder to be grounded and to be thankful and faithful, and try to aspire to be, and to me, like, to aspire to be more Christ-like, forgiving, compassionate, have empathy, and less judgmental, because the world is crazy right now.
Mhm.
Yeah. I never thought I would be saying this right, actually, on this episode, but seems to have taken that turn. But yeah, geez, I never thought I would be in this position where I'm starting to question my beliefs about religion, coming from a very scientific background, like, kind of mindset. But it's true. Brandon, you were going to say something.
No, I'm not very religious at all, so I can't really contribute to your
Yeah, we
revelation
can
here.
tell that about you. I can emanate that.
My family's part of my family is very Catholic. The other part is very, oh, the globalists are taking over. So it's like very mixed. I'm kind of just stuck in the middle trying to figure out life. So I'm not religious, but there's something out there, something's going on. There are things I like about religion, like the morals and stuff. It's really good for, I think, humanity and people in general. And then there are other things I don't like the church, which has done some
Right.
really icky shit for a long time. And
Yeah.
when religion is about money, I think that's another issue. But
Yeah, of
I
course.
think also a personal choice. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, as I say, the problem just goes back to being that humans are so flawed. Like, there's always going to be greed, so someone's going to want you know, just, you know, this through the last 2000 years, people have used religion to start wars, to loot and to raid and to take things over. And that's the big problem. But I feel like when it's kept smaller and when it's focused on actual, you know, faith and compassion, then it can be such a good thing. But it's just like anything, it can be used for evil, just like technology, you know. It could be so good, or, you know, it could be so bad. Just depends on who's using it and what they're using it for.
Right.
Yeah, you said it can get so big. It reminded me of something that I've been thinking about lately, which is to that our societies have become so large that we are no longer uh, we do not feel anymore like we have a say in how things go, even though we can vote, even though we can, you know, get involved on like a very low political level. I just feel like maybe there's something to do with the size of these kind of communities that we have now, these nations. The United States is a huge one, where if you were to just break up those communities, and yeah, you've got states and things, but I don't know if that's exactly what I'm talking about. But just to have a community where you're able to at least have some impact and feel like you're part of the decision making process. I don't know. I'm just riffing on thoughts here. Maybe that could be part of the solution to the problem that we're facing today, because we're just voiceless. There's so many people out there who are just like living day to day dead end jobs and not really feeling like they're contributing anything. And perhaps that's where part of the problem is.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, people just need to find something they're passionate about too, and then they won't feel like, you know, like they have no impact in the world as well. But and it's not easy to do either. I mean, there's a lot of things, and it might take a lot of time, or maybe, you know, maybe the only thing you're passionate about is playing video games, and I feel like that's okay too. Like if that's fulfills you, you know. But I mean, look, you have corporations like Amazon where their yearly revenue is bigger than probably like 10 or 20% of the countries that are out there. You know, it's just insane to me. Like same thing with like Google and Microsoft and Walmart, for example. And I think during this pandemic, it's gotten worse because small businesses have gotten even smaller and large corporations have gotten even larger. And I feel like that's shitty. You know, it shouldn't be like that. But here I am still ordering stuff on Amazon, and you know, but what can I do? You know, they have the best deals. I don't know. It's who am I to boycott Amazon? I just watched a show on Amazon Prime and I thought it was amazing. Like, what can I do?
I know Walmart is actually going online too, with all the similar services that Amazon has, and they're actually pretty good and pretty competitive. I ordered a bunch of stuff for Christmas on Amazon, on Walmart. See, they're so similar on Walmart, and delivered everything. Got some really good deals. Got some good like quality items. Like, there's some competition coming for Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, there's a Walmart neighborhood market that's walking distance from my house, and that's where I get most of my groceries. And I don't know, I can't feel bad about it because the other option is like it's a Safeway, and it's like twice the price, and they're a big corporation too. What's the difference? I don't know. What can we do?
True. Just pick one.
Yeah. Speaking of the Amazon Prime, man, there's so many platforms now to watch content. Like I'm inundated with them. I have subscriptions to like 4, and I don't even watch a lot of this stuff. But I feel like I need to have it because there's one show on this one that I really like. There's another show on this one that I really like.
Dude, it's the internet. You don't gotta pay for anything. What are you doing?
Right.
Yars, he's a pirate.
We know
What
kind of a person you are now.
Well, he's on a boat. What do you expect?
I will not confirm nor deny anything.
Yeah. So Chris, you're training for a competition now. How far out are you, did you say?
1 week.
Right. And how do you feel about it so far?
I'm hungry.
Are you not supposed to eat? Are you fasting? Like, yeah, what is your diet like?
No, so when you get to this body fat, it's not so much about how much calories you eat. It's just that your body is constantly telling you, dude, stop. Like, please gain fat, please. Like, what if there's no more food? You're gonna die first. You'll be dead first, like before everybody. So it doesn't, like, I could be eating 3,000 calories a day and my body will still be like, it's not enough. You need to eat more. Like, you're still skinny. Like, you still have low body fat. You need to eat more. So But right now I'm around 1,750 to 1,800 calories in that range. The macros I'm currently on are between 45 and 50 fat, 150 carbs, and 175 protein per day. And I don't like eat clean. I eat mainly clean stuff. I just hate that term clean, but I fit stuff into my macros that I enjoy, and then just hit my numbers every day.
Maybe not clean, but like, do you mostly eat whole foods? Like, do you just meal prep it out, or or some days you get takeout, or?
Yeah, I work from home, so I don't like to eat food that I cooked, more than like an hour ago for the most part. So um, I'll just like one thing that I eat quite often because it's just so convenient is I'll get the ground beef, like a pound of ground beef of like 93.7 or 96.4 lean ground beef, and I'll make double cheeseburgers. So I'll do like 8 ounces of that every day. That's usually like either my lunch or my dinner or whatever. And then so occasionally I'll go to like Chipotle or Firehouse Subs, Chick-fil-A. There's a lot of options. To be honest, it was better last year. This year they've taken away a lot of the really healthy options at some of these restaurants because of COVID. It's ridiculous. Like Taco Bell used to have really good mini shredded chicken quesadillas. Gone. All the shredded chicken stuff is all gone now because of COVID. McDonald's, they used to have really good chicken salads and chicken sandwiches. All gone now because of COVID. I don't know. It's really stupid.
Wait, am I missing something here? Why is chicken disappearing? Is it something? Are they?
It's not. They're just downsizing their menu, I guess. So they're like, well, the healthy stuff can go first,
The chicken's
they want
got
to
the
have
bird flu.
Yeah, maybe.
What kind of supplements are you? Can I ask you what you take? Because I think a lot of people listening or watching this might be interested to know what your stack's like.
Yeah, so every day I take 5 grams of creatine monohydrate. I usually just put it in a protein shake, and I'll usually have 1 to 2 scoops of whey protein per day. It just makes hitting my protein goal easier. Like 2 scoops is like 45 grams of protein, and I just mix it with water. And then I do that whether I lift weights that day. I lift weights 5 days a week. So Wednesday and Sunday are usually my rest days from training, which I think are very important. I think a lot of people think that you can go in and go hard every single day, but I train really hard 5 days a week, and then I take 2 days completely off. Maybe I'll do cardio on those days, but yeah, a lot of people overlook rest days. But anyway, so every day I'm taking creatine and protein just to hit my protein goal per day. And then on days that I work out, I'll do pre-workout. One of them is a pump product, and the other one is a caffeine pump product. So I usually take both of those, 1 scoop of each. This is all my sponsor's PE Science, so they send me supplements and I use them and promote them. And that's literally the main stuff that I take. I'll do a daily multivitamin because especially since I'm dieting and calories are low, and I might not be getting as much vitamins and minerals if I was eating more calories, So yeah, that's really pretty much it.
Yeah. Okay. So how do people get this stuff through you? Because you said you're sponsored by them and you kind of help sell them.
Yeah. So I have a discount code. It's just my last name, Elkins. And then if you go to pscience.com, when you check out, you can put in that code in and you get 15% off your order. And they do free shipping worldwide if you spend $75 or more.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
You
can get it in Colombia. Sweet.
Can you? Is that something they do, ship overseas?
Well, they said worldwide, so Colombia's in the world. So I assume I can get it. Here's a good question. Here's a good question regarding proteins. I get told all the time that you shouldn't eat like a certain amount of protein in a certain meal setting because your body won't absorb it. So when you're trying to hit a protein goal, do you spread it out like throughout the day mostly?
Yeah, so I personally, it's optimal, which just means it's like better, people throw that word optimal around a lot. Really, what's really optimal is what works best for you, as in like something you can do every day. That's what's really optimal. But if you were just going for just a complete optimal take, you would spread it out between 4 to 5 meals and about 40 grams per meal. But honestly, I don't do that. I don't always, sometimes, some days I only eat 3 meals in a day and I eat little snacks here and there. But the whole myth of like your body not absorbing it isn't true. Like if you were to eat 80 grams of protein at one time, it would just take a lot longer to digest. and then you're only going to trigger that muscle protein synthesis one time because
Mhm.
it's already my business partner always used to use this analogy, and I'll borrow it from him. But basically, like, let's say you have a light bulb and it has a dimmer switch, right? When
Mhm.
it's fully lit, you're turning on muscle protein synthesis to the max, but it can't get any brighter than that. And it only takes about 40 grams of protein, and protein is made up of amino acids, so 5 grams of leucine roughly brightens that to the max. So if you have more than that, it's not like you're going to make more muscle, but your body does need more than 40 grams for the whole day. So you could eat all your protein in one sitting. It would just take a long time to digest, and maybe you have a stomach ache too. Who knows?
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you think by not being super strict with the way that you take your macros every day is one of the contributing factors to your consistency? Because I mean, I haven't trained nearly as much as you do, but I remember when I was really going for it. I just couldn't do it if I was measuring everything, like, and doing it as
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it. So I had to like have takeout food and stuff just to keep myself happy.
Yeah, I think you have to find a balance. I always tell all my clients, if it's not sustainable, if it's not something that you can do for more than a month or two, then what's the point? You're just gonna fall off track, you know? I mean, get it, like doing a show is different because it's not forever. As soon as I finish competing, I'm going to intentionally gain body fat. I'm going to intentionally eat more than I normally would. But when I'm in the off season, I don't track anything really. I've gotten so used to eating a specific amount that it's pretty easy for me to tell, like, oh, I need to eat a little more today. I haven't eaten enough or whatever, and I can still have this variety, and I can still have a bunch of different combinations of foods and still reach my goal. So for me, yeah, I think the sustainability factor is huge and not something that can be downplayed. But if I was just like a machine, I would be bigger. Maybe I'd have more muscle mass if I just ate these 4 to 5 meals every day at 3 to 4 hours apart. But I just can't. I don't know. I can't do that. Man, I can't do that. It's an excuse. I could. I don't know. I don't make that a priority in my life.
What do you think about these meal replacements called what? There's one called Huel. There's another one called Soylent. Uh,
Soylent, yeah.
what do you think about those?
I mean, I think they're good for like a programmer that or a gamer that just sits at the
Doesn't want to leave the
couch all
seat.
day and doesn't want to get up. But their macro distribution is in Soylent is like soy, I think, right? And it's not the greatest protein source, and their
Mm.
macro distribution is not the best. I think it's a little high in carbs and for what they're doing specifically. But do I think there's anything wrong with them? No, not really. I think it's fine. I personally, if I drank all my nutrition, I'll be more hungry because the act of like masticating it helps with hunger and makes you feel full. And I think it's important for humans and gives you a little sculpted jaw, chewing on dry
Are we talking
chicken
about like
breast.
sedentary gaming or like professional gaming? So I remember hearing something like about chess, how these chess players, they'll play chess all day at tournaments and they'll burn like 2,000-3,000 calories in a day just thinking, sitting there.
Whoa. No,
So I
I, I,
that's
rese-
amazing.
I researched that recently in 2000. I think it was during my 2018 prep. I was playing. I play poker semi-professionally. I haven't played
Mhm.
much this year because of COVID, but um, I love playing tournaments. And always by the end of the tournament, I usually have a headache because I'm thinking so much, and I'm just like, your adrenaline is kind of high. And tournaments are crazy. It's very like I used to play the Pokemon trading card game,
Mhm.
and I was competitive. I'd play in tournaments, and I had the same exact feeling. So poker to me was like the next step, and I would play online too. When you get to a certain point in a tournament, every decision is very important, and so every hand now is less about the cards and more about everything else going on at the table. Like if no one else has anything, it doesn't matter what I have. I need those chips in the pot because the
Mhm.
blinds are getting higher. The stakes are increasing. So anyway, so it creates this pressure, and it's like it really makes you think really hard, similar to chess. I'm sure maybe chess is obviously like maybe way more
I think
difficult or
it's all
whatever, but
related. I'm using chess as
yeah.
an example because that's what I read about, and I've also played competitively online for quite a long time too.
So
I just know there's so much thinking that goes into it, so I imagine you're
yeah,
burning a lot of calories.
I looked it up though, and it's only like an extra 30 to 50 calories an hour more than someone who's just watching TV without thinking about anything. And so you add that up for a day, you know, 8 hours, it's only a few hundred calories, unfortunately. Because I was really thinking, like, I would always have much lower weigh-ins that I weigh myself every morning. When I was playing poker, and I was thinking, like, maybe I'm burning hella calories, and then I don't know. I said I wasn't, but I don't know. Who knows?
Clements, we need to get a chess player on. Can we get Kasparov or Carl Magnus or
Yeah, I'll
something
just
like that?
open my contacts and see what I can do.
I just watched Queen's Gambit on Netflix. Have you guys seen it? It's an amazing show.
I've heard it's good.
Is it good?
So freaking good. And I don't know if the lady is still alive, but she would be an amazing guest, probably.
Intrigued. This conversation's been amazing. It's been so good, better than I expected, and I super appreciate you coming on, because you've got such a large following online, and you're doing really well. And yeah, it just shows a lot about you as a person. You're a very humble guy, and I know you've got an important event coming up. So hopefully you won't be listening to sad music the whole time between now and then.
Hopefully this made you a little happier.
Yeah, hopefully this made you a bit happier, this show.
Yeah, it's great, man. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed the conversation.